How's it going, Mike?
It's sad.
Oh,
I can't believe you're not going to be doing this anymore.
oh yeah, your tears look as real as Dave's
I
do.
know. It doesn't not very good, huh?
Oh well, will be the last visit on this particular format or show.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Oh, for
We're
sure.
keeping the door open. Things are just changing. So.
Well, they need to. I mean, not that I don't mean there was a need for them, but things change.
They evolve and they move along. Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, it's all good.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I'm glad I could get you in on this final week. There's lots to cover. It's always fun when we get you in studio and cover some of this.
Well, we'll see what we can talk about for you.
Well, yeah, we'll start, I guess, with your specialty, and that's the real estate world. We're seeing some housing starts picking up.
Yeah, relative.
Well,
that's a go fish number that CMHC puts out.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what they think is going to be by the end of the year. It could be more, it could be less, but in reality, and I mean, it's good that it's that number. It needs to be way more. Even with prices and sales diminishing in the resale market, there is a huge need for new housing stock of all kinds, but more particularly multifamily and more affordable product for lower income people. The rental market's getting crazy. I think yesterday I was reading that the rent on a 2-bedroom condo or apartment in Calgary is pushing, I think it was $1,600. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
The prices on resale homes are very slowly coming down.
Mm-hmm.
Sales are really, really down. But getting back to CMHC and housing starts, they couldn't build enough. I mean, they need, I think Shane Wenzel wrote, they need 1 million houses in over the next 2 or 3 years. So that's just, it can't happen. So
yeah, Shane gave you a shout out in that column, actually. That. Yes, yeah. that he wrote recently. That was on the Western Standard, just that self-serving plug, westernstandard.news. And you'll find Shane's column where he's talking about that as a home builder, for people who aren't familiar with Shane Wenzel, and pointing out that we have a supply issue. I mean, no matter what you do, how much you meddle in the market, what your interest rates are, if you don't have enough supply, it's going to get expensive.
Yeah, and because it's my favorite topic, and that is slamming the government. It is the government's fault. Government restricts new housing supply while at the same time they're talking about needing to increase it. It's camera jam. That's camera jam kids or something. I can't.
Oh, Katzenjammer
kids.
That's getting.
See, I'm not old enough to remember it all exactly. Yeah, but on the resale market, things are slowing down as expected. I'm looking at Calgary this morning, and back in March, which was a record sales month for Calgary, they sold something up 4,200 homes, which is unbelievable. And I think we're on pace in August to do close to 2,000. So that's quite a dip. And it's got everything to do with the rising mortgage rates. And there was a phenomenon going on called fear of missing out, where people were qualifying for mortgages, but the supply wasn't very good. So they'd rush out and buy whatever they could get. And so that helped bring the sales up. It's a phenomenon that probably wouldn't have happened had the Bank of Canada taken the rate down to 0.25% at the beginning of the pandemic. But like everybody else, nobody knew how to handle that pandemic. If there ever was another one, and there might be, hopefully we handled differently. So now the bank is making up for lost ground.
Well, and the bank's probably going to be cranking interest rates further yet. Then.
Yeah, September 7th is the next date. Speculation. There are some people who said, "Oh, inflation's down. Well, it's 7.6%."
Yeah, I was saying that earlier in the show. We're all popping champagne corks, because it went down 0.5% in rise. I mean, it's just, as I said, the best way to put it is less bad than it was last month, but it's still bad.
No, but I saw some chatter today on the internet. Oh, well, the bank maybe will only raise it 2.5% then because things are looking so more positive. No. It's going to be a minimum of 0.5. I think 0.75. Outside chance of raising it by 1%. I don't think they're going to do it at 1. But nobody expected them to do it last time, so I don't know. But by the end of the year, I think we're looking at 3.25%, which is way above the Bank of Canada's normal, comfortable rate. But
and people have to understand what kind of chill. I mean, outside of the real estate market, I mean, that prime rate impacts capital expenditures a lot. And we're talking about things like the energy sector, mega projects. They're planning out in 10, 20-year, segments, and they didn't necessarily take into account that much more expenditure to get that thing rolling. So, I mean, often they're going to contract or reduce the amount they were going to build.
Right. But the thing that might cushion it, well, it should cushion it, is the lenders, for the most part, have already built in that 3.25%. Because they're looking ahead for that very reason. So a lot of the money that people are borrowing right now is based on a bank rate of 3.25. So it's not going to go.
No, but
they're trying to prevent that.
It makes them reevaluate some of their budgets, though, at that point, and leads to things. Well, we'll see what happens. I mean, you're still in for a rough ride for a while yet.
Yeah, it's going to be. I don't know how rough it's going to be. It's not going to be real pleasant, but I think it's going to be more slow than like that.
Mm-hmm.
I hope.
Well, yeah, we keep hearing that recession word. I listened to one economist saying we need a recession. It's natural. It's the way to correct things. I mean, I don't know if I can see it being natural in the cycle of economics, unfortunately, just with this borrow and contract sort of thing. But saying we need it as if it's a positive development or outcome, I mean, I think a better way to say it is just it's probably inevitable.
Well, it is inevitable. And I guess you want to look at it as a need to be. It's kind of like a medicine. You got a fever, now you got to get something to get rid of it. So is it a terrible, terrible thing? No, and are we going to be in a recession? I don't know. Depends on your definition of what a recession is.
Well, then they start dancing with what a recession is. I was watching that game going on in the States already.
Yeah, well, that's funny down there. It's not a recession. Yeah, it is. There's been no announcement here, though, in terms of officially in a recession. I think we have to look at the GDP numbers, what they were in July, and we'll see that, yeah, we are in a recession.
Yeah. Well, let's see with some of the other stuff you've been talking about. You put out some neat things, some of the dream homes, luxury homes. I see you had an Airbnb site that's carved into a California mountain.
Yeah. That's in the Joshua Tree National Park, about as close as I can figure, an hour and a half northeast of Palm Springs, where Joshua Park is, the Joshua Tree Park. But this house took 20 years to build, and it's pure. There's no timber in the thing. There's no drywall. It's all natural rock, and it's built right into the rocks. It's an amazing house. And is it expensive? The bed in the bedroom costs $500,000.
Well, $10,000 a night to stay in.
Yeah, you can't buy the house. You could Airbnb it, though, 3-night minimum.
That's a pretty limited audience.
Navi's talking about going down next week, actually. So I think. Yeah.
So he's the standard's flush with money now. They'll have me reducing.
That's right.
Payroll,
yeah.
Right? So
he's in the flush. That's good. Yeah.
Oh wow! But yeah, it's funny because Jane and I we have an extra suite attached to our place out in Prentice area, and it's been going very well. Jane's fantastic host. It's an independent suite, and Airbnb's been fantastic to us out that way. And I can see more of that with homeowners, not so much on the 10,000 a night scale, but that's another income generating thing people can do as the cost of housing goes up. Is if you've got that spare space, you're an empty nester, and you want to keep those damn kids from moving in too long anyways. Well, sorry, it's rented out. You get the spare bedroom over there, but you aren't getting the suite.
Yeah.
It's kind of a growth area. I saw a new story where they're fighting about that, of course, in Toronto. It's kind of like the Uber versus taxi. And of course, the hotels really hate Airbnb.
Oh, totally. And why wouldn't they? Yeah. But no, it's a good deal. So, if you got 30 grand and can get down there, it's probably once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, yeah, I would think. I'll keep an eye on the lottery tickets and see if my chance comes about, or maybe I'll just find a cliff and start carving my own. It'll probably happen faster than being able to spend $10,000.
From Prentice, you just head out to Bragg Creek and do something out there, maybe.
Yeah, well, they used to let me work with dynamite in the past. If I could get a hold of
no more dynamite for you.
I'm even sober now. I barely blew anything up last time. Okay, so we're going to look back a little. I like reviewing the stories, and just to remind everybody, you're right about a lot of things, real estate and so on, but you dive into the others with the Trump under investigation for a violation of the Espionage Act. I mean, this has been making a lot of news. This whole raid on the Mar-a-Lago mansion, and people all wonder what the hell's going on.
Well, I envisioned the piñata, at the kids' parties where they got the sticks and they're banging away at the piñata full of candy and they're waiting for it. So Trump is the piñata up there. And it's all the little Democrats running around with their sticks, Russian collusion, this, that, the other thing. And so I think this is just, another part of that. They need to get something on this guy, on Trump. We're only, I think, 80 days away from the midterms, and they're sweating bullets. It looks like the Democrats are going to get wiped out, which I think is an overstatement. They're not going to be wiped out, but they could lose control of the Congress.
It's not looking good for them in the midterms.
No, not looking. And it's not that Joe Biden is a very useful president as it is, but should the Republicans take the House down there, he's lame duck. He's done, totally done.
Well, and you start getting into that stalemate going on. I mean, it's the American politics is such a hornet's nest. And the thing that always strikes me too is their elections, as much as they're so polarized and fight so hard, they're still usually it's like 51% to 49%. I mean, it's just such a microscopic line that they're moving on in that country.
Well, that's a good point. I was thinking about that the other day. They're talking about the great division in the country, but it's like you say, 51% this, 49% the other. It's not really a great divide. It's the extremists on either end. It's the same thing here. It's the extremists on either end of the political spectrum who get all the ink, make the most noise, they get the most attention, but they're not really the ones that we should be focusing on.
No, well, it's so heated, though. I mean, Trump. I mean, he was a bombastic. I'm not a big fan of his, to be honest. I mean, I still would vote Republican if I was in the States. I'm a conservative, but boy, I would have hoped that couldn't our party come up with somebody a little better than this guy?
There's good and bad. I'm not real fond of his style, the bombastic thing. We're the greatest, always has been. I mean, he's sending out on his social media true site things today that are like, okay, Don, just back off a bit. But we're Canadians. We're a little more laid back, so maybe. But you've got to admit, at least this is the way I see it, is that he did some pretty good things for that country.
Well, he shook the establishment.
Yeah.
And it was an establishment that needed to be shaken up. That's part of what the amount of this loathing is. I mean, they are still ticked off at how he rattled their perch, including some of the Republicans in the establishment too.
But again, his style, I don't know. That's like having the best hockey player in the world who just likes going around slashing people with a stick, but he scores the most goals.
But I mean, I think maybe it'll come to some ease if people get to the point of accepting, or if he would ever say, but there's nothing much to expect him to say, that he's not running again. That you're finished. You're going to retire. You're going to kick back.
There's nothing Donald Trump wants more than to be the president of the United States again.
And
whether or not it's going to happen, I don't know.
I don't either. It's such a because again, I'm sure the Dems have got to be sweating because Biden isn't exactly what you'd call strong. So he's most definitely vulnerable to a strong run. But I mean, another term of Trump, and I could see a civil war breaking out in that.
Well, you might get one anyway.
Well,
so maybe it's in the cards. That can be done about it. I don't know.
It's just so bizarre, and it just doesn't stop. As I said, it's just the headlines. And did he take things from the office? Does he have cases of sensitive materials? I mean, he invoked the Fifth. And they were quick to point out one of his own speeches when he said, anybody invoking the Fifth is clearly guilty. And then, so now he's invoking,
that's Donald.
That's him. I know.
He's a showman. He's Barnum Bailey. Totally.
Well, you put a reality star in office and you got what you're going to get.
Yeah. Let's get back to housing for just a second.
Sure,
talking about Canada and the United States. I just want to say to the people out there that you're going to see things continue to go down a bit. You don't panic. Do not panic. Everybody's situation is different in terms of whether or not you get to keep the house or you have to sell it and stuff like that. And I mention this because you might start seeing things get even worse in the United States. But you have to understand down there, the rules are different. You buy a house, you get a 30-year mortgage down there. Plus, if you get into a situation where you can't make the payments, you go to the bank and say, here's the keys. See ya. You walk away and there's nothing they can do. In Canada, that's not going to happen. It can't happen because we've got CMHC insurance, the qualification, stress tests, and stuff like that. So if you see this happening in the United States, do not for a moment think it's going to happen here. People panicking and putting their houses on the market for sale when they don't really need to, it can be a self-fulfilling prophecy that everything will go down the ditch a lot quicker.
Yeah, well, and that's advice that financial advisors give on just about everything, anyways. With any portfolios, look at the long game. Don't panic respond in reacting. We've had Andrew Rulin from Integrated Wealth Management talking about that. Okay, markets are dipping. This, hang on. Don't rush out there. I mean, when you get a panic sell, as you said, with self-fulfilling, well, then it snowballs and you can get a collapse, and then everybody gets kind of scared.
Yeah, and I think the figure everybody looks at, understandably, is the value, what the perceived value of the house. And somebody's going to have bought a house at 350 that probably in April rocketed up to 425, and now it's moving back down to 350, and they think they're losing money, but they're not. That's what you bought it for.
Yeah.
It's little things like that you got to keep in mind, and don't take financial advice from Uncle Ernie unless Uncle Ernie's a financial guy.
Yeah,
a lot of people do that.
Well, I mean that's part of I can't remember. Was a guest on a while back, just on how things change. Again, it's not so much in the housing, but in stocks. I mean, not that long ago, you used to have to go through a stockbroker. You'd have to talk to somebody who was licensed and ostensibly, I mean, a lot of corruption among them and incompetency, but for the most part had some degree of knowledge of it. And they would counsel a person, don't jump in and out on this like that. Don't move around. But now a person can just get online, click, trade stocks, and it added to the volatility of trade in ways that they never imagined would happen, and it still makes for a difficult to rely on a lot of things in that market.
Yeah, completely.
So people don't buy and sell houses that quickly.
Some people do.
Well, that's in a world that I don't live in, and I don't even want to think about. We're still working on paying the one we got now.
Yeah. No, I know some people who are in that business. They do quite well. They're not shysters or anything like that. They'll buy a house. 9 times out of 10, the house needs renovations anyway, so they go in, fix it up, add $10,000 or $12,000 to the sales price, and go. So it's not a bad deal for some people.
Well, there's a lot of reality shows about that. I mean, the flippers and things like that. Yeah, why not? I mean, pick it up. You're assuming the risk. I mean, if you fix it up poorly or the market collapses on you, you're stuck in a house that you bought for more than it's worth. That's your like anything else.
Like walking into a casino with a lot of money, walking out broke.
Well,
your choice.
Yeah, no, I've managed to do that already.
I know.
Right on. Okay, well, before I let you get running here, what else are you working on? What do you got to look forward to?
I think maybe a patio in my future. Oh, you mean for the rest of the week?
I was thinking on your columns, unless you're going to do a how-to or something on patio construction.
I should do something on patios. I got a lot of things in the mix right now. I was talking to Naylor. Things are pretty slow right now. So dog days of summer, middle of August, things are going to pick up. I think there's going to be a lot of things happening right after Labor Day things are going to start moving pretty fast.
Yeah.
So things are going to pop up.
Right on. Well, it was good to have you on one more time, Myke.
Very appreciate it.
And,
I always enjoyed coming on.
Yeah.
And like I say, we'll see you around sometime.
Oh, yeah. I'm not vanishing. Things are just changing.
All right. Great.
All right. I'll talk to you later.
You got it.